we now look to Paris, where 10,000 athletes from more than 200 countries will compete for the gold. Today's guest, Mel Stewart, is an Olympian in his own right, winner of 2 gold medals, and now the owner-publisher of the largest swimming news website in the world. Stewart, more than anyone, knows what it takes to win on the biggest stage, the Olympics, but that the reward is not just in winning medals, but saving lives. From Ballard Studios in Washington, D.C., an Olympic special right here on 13th and Park.
We give you information, not a panic attack.
I mean, look what's going on. I mean, my God.
This was it. My kids were gonna die.
That time is gone forever.
This is the biggest story in America.
We weren't prepared for this.
Don't you want to speak truth to power?
Toughest thing I ever had to do.
Mel, great to have you on the show. I want the viewers to know, first of all, there's a logo behind you that says GMM. Tell me about that.
GMM stands for Gold Medal Mel. And I'll give you the 30-second version. My father knew I was a fast swimmer. My name's Mel, but I'm Melvin. I'm Little Melvin. My father was Big Melvin. Try to put yourself in North Carolina in a Pentecostal family that never made over $20,000 in a year. But my father was very supportive of swimming. He called me Gold Medal Mel because there was a track athlete called Mel Pender, and he was Gold Medal Mel. So he would call me Gold Medal Mel, and I hated it. He called me Gold Medal Mel all the way until I was the top athlete in the United States and among a room full of athletes, and I yelled at him and was ashamed of yelling at my father for being so, supportive. So later in life, after he passed away, I took that name.
Wow. So you talk about setting the bar high. Just for our viewers' sake, I'm going to play you a clip, and you probably know where I'm going, from 1991 in Australia.
Clearly a two-man race. It's still Gross with the lead in lane 4. But coming up was Stewart. He made another good turn, John.
He's been absolutely exploding off the walls, and the psychological impact of going in with a half body length lead and coming out even has got to be detrimental to Gross. Stewart's picking up the pace.
And the world record time is 1:56.24.
He's going away.
Yes, he is. Melvin Stewart of the United States. He is going to beat Michael Gross in a new world record time, a time of 1:55.69.
I can tell you, Mel, that just listening to the audio from that gives me goosebumps. Like, it takes you back to the moment where something huge happened, in this case, a world record. I mean, did that not blow you away?
I'm angry at you for just bouncing that on me, because it's like, this is very, if you're old enough to remember the up close and personals, that's how that started with the ABC, and then NBC picked it up. You're getting me to cry already. That was the year before the 92 Olympics. This Michael Gross was the albatross. He had a wingspan of 7 feet.
Right.
And I had lost at my first Olympics badly. Just had a horrible, horrible swim. Fear overtook me. And sometimes when fear grips you like a disease or an evil spirit, you can't overcome it. So I had to, the World Championships before 1992 Olympics, I knew I needed to beat him, and beat him in a way that he would retire. And he did. He retired about 10 minutes later in the press conference. He said he could never go that fast.
Well, you didn't stop there, because the next year you went to Barcelona and you did something equally impressive by taking home not 1, but 2 gold medals.
In swimming parlance, you have to count all medals, because it was 2 goals. So it was butterfly in the 200 fly. I won a gold medal on a medley relay, won a bronze medal on a 4x2, which was the first time Team USA had lost the 4x2 ever, which was just shameful. And then I won a wooden medal in the 100 butterfly. You know what a wooden medal is?
No, what is that?
Swimmers think that we should win wooden medals for 4th through 8th. I was 5th in the 100 fly. We get certificates. We're lobbying for a wooden medal. So swimmers joke that, I got a wooden medal.
It's a swimmer's world when you start to share things like that. Mel, let me ask you, you are a quote-unquote ambassador to USA Swimming. What does that involve?
I was an ambassador with USA Swimming from 2008 until 2022. And what I did was I worked with the alumni. I'd stand in a room with, oftentimes, I'd have my paltry 3 medals, and I'd be standing in a room with athletes who have 5 and 7 and 10 and more, or Phelps, 28, and ask them for money. and asked them to donate, for a good cause. It was for Learn to Swim. And Learn to Swim is sort of our thing in the Olympic community, which is, it's a life-saving skill. It's something that works. And Olympic medalists have supported this cause to the tune of millions and millions of dollars for a long time. So it was a lot of fun, but I handed the mantle off to someone else. I'm like, you can herd kittens for a while.
So this is not about competitive swimming. It's about truly life-saving skills, being able to, learn how to swim for people.
Drowning is the second leading cause of accidental injury for kids under the age of 14. If you are of color, if you're Black, your chances are 60% higher that you're going to drown. If you're Latino, it's almost 40%. And it's having enough skill to get to the side of the pool. This has always been a thing. It's often socioeconomic. This is the thing that we do so that we can feel good about ourselves and have some purpose in life. And it's been very successful.
Good for you, Mel. Let me ask you, in terms of swimming, let me just say up front that my partner, Michael LaRosa, wanted to be a part of this interview today. You happen to know Michael, a competitive swimmer in his own right. I know he wanted to be here for some reason. President Biden's news of the week got in the way of this interview. Any message for Michael?
Michael, you are a college swimming star. We've always been proud of you, a rock star in this sport. And we knew you were great early on, from being a producer at Hardball all the way to the Oval Office working with Dr. Biden. And shame on you for not being here. I'm personally hurt. I'm going to hold it against you. I've been sending you the comp to Swim Swam magazine for years, and the least you could do is just show up at this interview. And let's just say my feelings are hurt.
You're just going to have to settle this in the pool, the two of you. I just want you to know.
Let me put something into context. I'm saying that Michael, as a collegiate swimmer, was a star, and he was a star. But to put that into perspective, you got to know how fast he was. He's 99 percentile. So he's 1% between him and a Michael Phelps, him and Mel Stewart or Caleb Dressel, who's going to be a big star coming up in Paris all over again. It's just a tiny dial. Some will just go all in sport. And some athletes say, I've gone as far as I'm going to go, and now I'm going to go produce hardball.
So we had Riley Gaines on the show, I think about 2 months ago. She was talking about when she was a competitive swimmer, the regimen, which kind of blew our mind about what it takes to really be at the very top of this field. As you say, Mel, the difference between that and what's right below it is minuscule.
Michael Phelps says it best. One day out, you've lost 2 days. There's a hierarchy once you make an Olympic team. And the difference between those who have medals and those who don't, within this hierarchy, once you're the top 2 Americans, is just grit. And, Michael never took a day off. I didn't take a day off. My goal was to make my coach hate me because we went to practice on Christmas.
In the pool, when you're training, you're kind of all alone in the water. How do you motivate yourself to do what it takes? Not just incredible discipline, but incredible skill.
I should disclose that my wife is a therapist with a full practice, and that I'm a big believer in therapy. I think if you're going to train your body, you should train your mind. And therapy to me is about being fearless. I would always look in these rooms that I would stand in with athletes who were luminaries and far greater than I ever was. And I was always looking for that one thing. Mm-hmm. What's that one thing? Did you hate your dad? Were you bullied as a kid? And I would say that a majority had that, and it was identifiable. I certainly had it. I had it. I had a chip on my shoulder because we grew up so poor. But after doing this for years and years and years, I was convinced that maybe only a tiny percentage were just true artists in the water. They had dedication and focus, and they were artists. And as I got deeper into my relationships with them, I found out there was something there. There's always something that is that grit. Maybe not a network pretty answer, but it's the truth.
So let me take you to where the world's about to go, Paris. We've all been seeing commercials starring Steven Spielberg. He's now actually in one of his short films. It's a piece that's promoting the Paris Olympics, and you see the boats going down the Seine River. But that same Seine River is going to be the place where there's going to be some open water competitions and the triathlon. And there were concerns enough about the safety of that water that Paris invested over $1 billion over 8 years to make it as clean as possible. The mayor of Paris, who recently swam in the Seine, said that she's still a little concerned about whether or not that's going to be safe. So let me play you a clip and we'll take it from there.
Olympic athletes taking the plunge during a triathlon test event in the iconic River Seine in Paris. A remarkable sight, as swimming in the Seine has been banned for over 100 years due to unsafe water conditions. Paris officials spending 8 years and a whopping $1.5 billion to clean it up in time for the Olympics, where they hope to hold the triathlon and open water swimming events. But with just about 2 weeks to go until the Summer Games, it's still unclear whether all that time and money spent will mean it's safe to swim in the Seine.
Mel, obviously, swimming and water kind of go together. And it would make sense that advocates and ambassadors for swimming like yourself would be concerned with water beyond the Olympics in terms of sustainability and in terms of the cleanliness of water to be able to support not just swimming, but all recreation. Are you concerned at all about this part of the Paris Olympics where athletes are going to compete in the Seine that we keep our fingers crossed is in very good shape?
I'm concerned. I run the biggest swimming media company on earth. I got 127 people reporting in 6 languages. We cover stories long in advance and we break stories that hit major media. We've been so on top of this. It's a coli. There's a few other markers that you want to track, but I don't know if I can say this on the show, but there's a lot of poop in the water. And it's a coli, and that's the biggest concern. They've done an exceptional job bringing it to where they're going to bring it. I personally, from a personal standpoint, we deal with this issue all the time. It just doesn't hit global news. As we stand right now, the most recent report I've gotten is that you have a governing body who has set limits, and that's World Aquatics. That's under the International Olympic Committee. That's the swimming signatory. And they have this level of E. coli that you can have. Currently, Paris was like 20-fold, and then it was 10-fold, and it was down. Now it's 2-fold. So we have 2-fold too much poop in the water. And I think they're going to get their arms around it. It's a real, it's an issue that they probably should have fixed a long time ago just for the ecosystem.
Right.
And it was about overflow. I think you probably know this based on your research. The runoff was creating the problem.
Right.
And they needed to build these massive tanks to contain runoff so that the E. coli levels wouldn't explode. And we see this all the time. I grew up in North Carolina. We're a big pig industry. I'm talking to you from Austin, Texas, but I've always, first my formative years were in North Carolina, but we always have red bloom because it'd be a storm, and all the pig defecation and these massive vats would run off in the ocean, create red bloom all up and down the East Coast. I think we're going to be okay. Let me give you I'm looking at my crystal ball. It's going to happen. Everything's going to be great. Medals will be won. And no one is going to come away with any health issues.
You know what's interesting about hearing you talk about this? You know how future sites of Olympics, winter and summer, are talking more and more about how to make it more sustainable beyond the Olympics itself. That doesn't so tax the local population with cost and also overruns, et cetera, that they're paying for the rest of their lives, right? Maybe this is one place, Mel, where investments really do a good thing for a city like Paris that far transcend the couple weeks that will be played out for the Olympics.
This is a topic of conversation of anybody who has white hair and a white beard or has some hardware, Olympic hardware in their background. I've been married 25 years. My wife took me to Barcelona as a surprise. And I went back and I swam in the pool where I won.
Wow.
And it was nice. What a wonderful gift from a great spouse. But going to the pool and seeing that the pool was programmed, that they had swimming lessons, that the community was using it was extraordinarily meaningful when you consider all of the horror stories when we think about Rio, where the soccer field has gone fallow.
Yeah.
We're talking about Biden just dropped out, Harris is in, and you want to talk kitchen table politics. At the Olympics, there's a fight internally. There's fear right now, like there's fear in society. If you remember back to 1980, we boycotted the 1980 Olympics, and then 1984 Los Angeles saved us. Everybody's hoping against hope that within the Olympic movement, that LA 2028, they're white knuckling it through Paris, and they're hoping that LA 2028 is going to revitalize this brand that's been global. And since Reagan in the 80s, since he turned ketchup into a vegetable, and the middle class has been shrinking, which I'm all for trickle down economics, but it's gotten the trickle's getting smaller and smaller. sport has become a place that is almost economically unviable for vast majority of families. That is the conversation in every room, in leadership, in the Olympic movement. Are we going to be a sport for the rich or for kids with parents who are in the C-suite?
Right.
And that's real. And that's become, and we're watching the numbers and we're seeing it change year over year. So yes, I want to see the Olympics as a vital economic endeavor and an economic boon to the city that hosts. But I'm worried about home. I'm worried about my own sport. I'm worried about gymnastics. I'm worried about track and field. Can mom and dad afford it? And right now, I don't think leadership has addressed that problem.
But it's a worldwide issue. It's not just an American issue, right?
It's a worldwide issue, but it's uniquely an American issue. We have benefited from an enormous population, 350 million people. Mm-hmm. But let's just say parents are educated. Mom's a teacher, dad's a captain of a fire station. They're going to have a difficult time with their kid in sport. They're going to make sacrifices. Mm-hmm. And if you want your kid to be successful and go on and compete in college, it's going to be expensive. You're going to have to pay for a lot of education, a lot of additional coaching. It's hard. And it's gotten harder and harder. I'm soapboxing and I apologize. It's personal to me because I was a charity kid. Mm-hmm. I would not, if there hadn't been programs or if costs hadn't been what they were in the 70s and 80s, you wouldn't have me on.
You would have lost to our friend Gross in the 1991 World Championships, right? You stopped that juggernaut because you had a chance. Let me ask you about the Olympics themselves. I mean, Katie Ledecky is like almost mythical already in this country. I mean, how much are you looking forward to her competing all over again? And who else should we keep our eye on in Paris?
Let's put Katie Ledecky into context. Katie Ledecky has 10 Olympic medals, and let me check out my notes. I think she's 7 gold, 3 silver. That's correct. She's racing against Ariana Titmus in the 400-meter freestyle. Everyone wants her to win there. She's probably going to just win a medal. It'd be tough for her to win, but she's got the 800-meter free and the mile, the distance races on lock. So what we're looking at is an athlete who is going to this is our banking gold. Gold in the 1500, gold in the 800. She's at 10 medals. That puts her at 12. The United States has a big bragging rights in this because Natalie Coughlin, Dara Torres, and Jenny Thompson all have 12 medals. They're the most celebrated and the winningest female swimmers in history. Ledecky's going to equal them with those 2 races. Of those athletes, she will have the most gold within her 12. Then she's got relays and she has the 400 free, so she should eclipse them. So this should be the Olympics where definitively Katie Ledecky becomes the greatest of all time.
Wow. American men on the swim team, how do they compete with that? Is there a name that kind of pops out that may start to move down a path that even comes near what Katie is about to achieve?
Team USA in the pool in Paris is going to be one of the weakest teams we've fielded since 1992. And that was my Olympics. My Olympics, I was one of the most celebrated guys in the Olympics, and I only got 3 medals. We have performed better in 1996, 2000, 2004. But there's an elephant in the room here, right? It's the elephant in the room is we are in a post-Michael Phelps era. And what's interesting about that is we're not so dominant on the men's side because when he was competing, he was dominant, but he was also, Phelps is dragging these other guys along.
Right.
And they were extraordinarily successful in their own right. Our famous Ryan Lochte. And so what we have is we have some stars. They're going to perform well. We're going to be fighting for podium position in most of the men's events. The biggest name you're probably going to hear about is Caleb Dressel. And Caleb Dressel's a sweetheart. He's good looking. He looks like he's been carved out of stone. He lives on a farm in Florida, recently married. He won 5 gold medals at the last Olympics in Tokyo. And I think that he's going to be fighting to defend his 100 butterfly gold. And I think he has a great shot in that. He should, the 4x100 freestyle relay, he's going to be team captain and he's going to lead them to gold. There's a great shot at gold there. But what's interesting about this topic is that we're going to really do well in Los Angeles 2028. And here's why. There's an entire generation of boys and girls that we call the Phelps generation. And these are kids who grew up for years and years watching Michael Phelps swim an ungodly number of events, and some fast in all of them. And they're like, okay, I guess that's what you do. So they've been indoctrinated and programmed to think that's okay. So we have kids between 13 and 18 who are swimming lights out. They just haven't come online yet, and they'll be here in Los Angeles. So this Olympics, just know that we're going to be fighting. Next Olympics, we'll be in a good position.
I think we're going to do great. I'm an eternal optimist. I think you are too, clearly. I applaud your wife for the gift she gave you, taking you back to Barcelona. I think that's brilliant. And may we have a great Olympics, a safe Olympics. May the Seine be generous to those who are going to be swimming in the Seine. And thank you very much for promoting swimming and the safety of swimming in particular, which I really wasn't aware of when I went into this interview. That's so terribly important to all of us.
Thank you. I appreciate being on.